Good morning. Today is Tuesday, June 28th, 2022, and it has now been 4 days since the United States Supreme Court released its decision in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization, overturning Roe v. Wade and relegating whether or not someone has the right to abortion back to the states. As you can see here on this map, several states have already made elective abortion, illegal, including Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Kentucky, South Dakota, and Alabama. Other states have attempted to, but are now embroiled in litigation. And other states are making efforts to quickly ban abortion, elective procedures for abortion. And Let's just take a quick look at the Supreme Court decision, clearly stating here held that the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion, that Roe and Casey are overruled, and that the authority to regulate abortion is returned to the people and their elected representatives. So over the past 2 days, you've had a significant flurry of efforts by state governors and state attorney generals in very good number of states in the United States South, and other parts of the country that are quite conservative, reacting to this new Supreme Court decision and implementing either what are known as trigger laws that were designed such that if and when Roe was overturned, abortion would be criminalized in the state, or other pieces of legislation that were previously involved in some sort of litigation because of Roe, but are now on the books and being enforced because of the fact that Roe is no longer the law of the land. So one of the first moves by a state attorney general was that of Eric Schmidt of Missouri on June 24th, 2022, just an hour or so after the decision was made by the Supreme Court. He issued an opinion to the Missouri Reviser of Statutes that triggered Missouri House Bill 126, which effectively ended abortion in the state of Missouri. And Missouri was the first state to move in that direction and the first state to criminalize abortion in its entirety in the whole state. Arkansas similarly followed on June 24th. The governor of Arkansas, Asa Hutchinson, saying that the Attorney General has indicated she will be presenting her certification to trigger Arkansas's law that prohibits abortion except in the case of the life of the mother being a medical emergency. And you saw here the statement later that day from Attorney General Leslie Rutledge saying that she has certified that essentially that the United States Supreme Court has overruled Roe v. Wade, and that the Arkansas law that prohibits abortion, except in cases where the mother's life is at risk, is now on the books as a law in the state of Arkansas, and that she will be enforcing that law. The state of Alabama also followed on June 24th, 2022, the Attorney General stating that now Alabama law prohibits abortion, and that being enjoined by a court, and that is now in full effect as legislation in the state of Alabama criminalizing abortion in the state. Tennessee at the moment has not had any change in legislation since before the Dobbs decision, but nonetheless the state does have a trigger law, the 2019 Human Life Protection Act, which was signed 3 years ago and which will come into effect 30 days after the decision in Dobbs, so on July 24th, 2022. But nonetheless, the Attorney General of the state, Herbert Slattery III, moving quickly to see if he could have an emergency motion to expedite this law coming into effect, such that he has notified the Tennessee Code Commission that Roe and Casey have been overruled as required by the statute for this act to come into effect, and that he would like this law to go into effect as soon as possible. That litigation will continue throughout this week, and we'll see whether or not that emergency motion is granted to the Attorney General of the state of Tennessee, such that he can begin enforcing that law. Oklahoma, the governor and the Attorney General both celebrating what they called Oklahoma becoming a pro-life state. The governor stating that he was thrilled that the Attorney General certified the Supreme Court's ruling, and that they will be enforcing the legislation that's on the books in the state of Oklahoma that prohibits abortion. Utah had on June 24th, 2022 as well, said that in light of the fact that Roe was overturned, the Utah state legislature was enacting a statute that triggered the court's or that was triggered by the court's decision and prohibits abortion except in cases of rape, incest, the life of the mother, and other serious medical complications. One of the most restrictive abortion laws in the country, but nonetheless, this decision being temporarily blocked by a judge on June 27th, and that will be in effect for 2 weeks or 14 days at the least, as they continue to hear arguments in this case. And so that means that this temporary restraining order will continue through July 11th. So Utah's legislation pre-Roe is what will be in effect for the next 2 weeks. The state of Texas, moving very quickly to criminalize abortion. The Attorney General, Ken Paxton, there celebrating the end of Roe and announcing that abortion is illegal in Texas. He specifically noted in his official advisory, which was released, that a person that violates the act commits a first-degree felony and will incur civil penalties of not less than $100,000 for violation, and that his office is specifically authorized to pursue and recover those penalties and will strictly enforce this law. So, abortion effectively criminalized in the state of Texas. Wisconsin has a Democratic governor, but nonetheless, there is an 1849 ban on abortion on the books in the state of Wisconsin, and that is currently the law that one would expect to be enforced, that essentially says that Wisconsin criminalizes abortion. It's not entirely clear how or whether or not this will be enforced. It is a very old law, over 150 years old. But the practical effect, as noted here, is that abortion clinics in the state of Wisconsin have closed, and abortion is effectively criminalized in the state of Wisconsin. That is despite the governor of Wisconsin vowing to grant clemency to doctors that are charged under the state abortion ban. I'm not entirely sure if that's really going to make a difference. This is an election year, 2022. Governor Tony Evers is on the ballot, and for all we know, he might not be in office come early 2023, but nonetheless, him trying to resist this criminalization of abortion in Wisconsin, but for now it is illegal in the state. West Virginia, their only abortion clinic stopped performing abortions on June 24th, the same day as the decision was handed down by the Supreme Court. And that is because, again, there is another law on the books that says that providing abortions is a felony, carrying 3 to 10 years of prison time. But again, we have a question here of how this law will be enforced by the state of West Virginia. The governor, Jim Justice, not seeming to be too ready to jump into that question, saying that he does not want to rush into a special session to clarify that law and how it will be enforced, and seeming to suggest that they should wait until there's more interpretation from the legal community and more discussion with the legislature. In effect, what I think he's doing is buying time. Anyways, that is the statement from the governor of West Virginia. Kentucky, their abortion trigger ban also taking effect. That was also either on the day that Dobbs was handed down or a day after. That is decisions for the state of Kentucky. And then more recently today, the state of South Carolina, or at least on June 27th, their fetal heartbeat abortion law now in effect, meaning that abortion is prohibited after 6 weeks when the fetal heartbeat is detected. This was also the decision made by Ohio, which introduced a fetal heartbeat law, or rather has begun enforcing that law since this decision was handed down by the court. And that is how Ohio and South Carolina are currently handling this matter. And then as for the state of Alaska, Governor Dunleavy, he's a Republican. He said that I, like many Alaskans, is pro-life, but that he also recognizes that many Alaskans are pro-choice. And although this is not explicitly stated in this press release, he's essentially suggested that there will be a referendum on this matter to determine whether or not the practice of abortion will be permitted in the state of Alaska or not. Similar to what Kansas is doing in August, where there will be a referendum on the matter. So that is an update on June 28th, 2022 about the state of abortion in the United States. It's currently criminalized in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 U.S. states. West Virginia and Wisconsin are technically where it has been criminalized, but it appears that it is now being characterized as no information due to a lot of ambiguity over how those laws are going to be enforced. And we'd expect there to be continuing litigation in Utah and also in Tennessee in terms of their attorney generals trying to enforce these pieces of legislation that criminalize abortion as quickly as possible, and a similar law running into some legal challenges in the state of Louisiana that will also probably continue to be a subject of litigation over the coming days and weeks. And we will see how other states, Idaho, Wyoming, continue to move to prohibit abortion as we go through. We'll expect more states to try and call sessions to see what they're going to do about this. And potentially other states might liberalize abortion. It really will be something for time to tell. Nonetheless, this is the state of abortion in the United States on Tuesday, June 28th, 2022. Thank you.